From the stage play details to the accidental spoilers Noah Schnapp dropped while eating spicy wings, we are talking about the end of an era here, and the Duffer Brothers are clearly not holding anything back. Netflix just dropped the trailer for Volume 2 and raised a million new questions while showing us that Hawkins is basically a war zone under siege. Let's start with the biggest thing that changes how we view the entire series, which is the origin of Henry Creel, also known as One, also known as Vecna. For the longest time, we all kind of assumed that Henry was just this bad seed, right? Like he was just born evil, a psychopath kid who tortured animals and hated humanity. But the evidence piling up suggests that is not the full story at all, and it actually makes his character way more tragic and terrifying. There are two major things that prove Henry wasn't born a monster. First, you have to look at the stage play, The First Shadow, which shows Henry as a weird kid, sure, but he wasn't a murderer until he messed around with some experimental equipment from Dr. Brenner's early projects. That accident sends him briefly into Dimension X, where he gets exposed to the raw energy of that dimension and the Mind Flayer particles for the first time. The new Volume 2 trailer actually reinforces this fragmented nature of his psyche in a terrifying way. It flashes back and forth between human Henry, the gaunt, orderly Henry after he got his life sucked out, and the monster Vecna, showing him physically flickering between these identities as he walks down a flight of stairs. This identity flickering suggests that Henry is losing control, or perhaps the different parts of his personality are fracturing under the pressure, which aligns with Matt and Ross Duffer's statement to Deadline that Volume 2 will explore Vecna's memories from when he was just Henry Creel. Think about what happens to Will in Season 2. Remember how quickly he changed? The particles change who you are. They rewire your brain to hate humanity and want destruction. So if that happened to Will, it definitely happened to Henry. When Henry came back from Dimension X after that cave accident, he had a new worldview. This actually lines up with so many theories that Vecna is basically the Darth Vader to the Mind Flayer's Emperor Palpatine. This connects perfectly to why Vecna is so afraid of that cave in Season 5. That cave is the site of his original trauma. It's where he lost his humanity. In the trailer, we see that Vecna is not just sitting idle. He is searching for new victims and even abducted Holly Wheeler, Mike and Nancy's little sister. But the craziest part is that when Holly got taken, she ran into Max, who has been in a coma since the end of Season 4. Somehow she's there, and the two of them realize they are trapped inside Vecna's memories. Fans were previously introduced to a cave in which Max has been hiding as her body rests in the hospital in Hawkins, though it is clear that the pair will leave the cave and travel through a floating door to an unknown destination. This connects perfectly to why Vecna is so afraid of that cave in Season 5. That cave is the site of his original trauma. It's where he lost his humanity. The fact that he hesitates to go there proves that there is still a tiny piece of Henry Creel buried deep inside that monster, a piece that is terrified of the greater evil that rules Dimension X. If Vecna were the ultimate god of the Upside Down, he wouldn't be scared of a cave. His fear proves there is a hierarchy, and he is not at the top of it. This is even backed up by Jamie Campbell Bower, who revealed in an interview that Mr. Watsit, the human form Henry takes in his mindscape, is actually a completely separate entity from Vecna. He said Mr. Watsit represents the idea of what Henry could have been if he were still a normal human. Bower also mentioned that the stage play deeply affected how he played the character this season, specifically focusing on Henry's relationship with his mother and father, who were not good parents, to bring that childhood trauma to the surface. That is huge because it confirms a split personality or a fractured soul. It also hints that the final boss might be the Thessal Hydra, or the Mind Flayer itself entering our world physically, which is a terrifying thought. Speaking of terrified, we need to talk about the absolute game changer that is Will Byers. For years, people have been saying Will is just a victim, or he's just there to sense the monsters, but Season 5 Volume 2 is finally going to pay off everything that was set up in the first season. It turns out Will doesn't just have a spidey sense for the Mind Flayer, he has actual powers. But it's different from 11. 11 was born with potential and trained in a lab. Will's powers are accidental. He spent so much time in the Upside Down, he breathed in so much of that toxic air, and he was possessed by the Shadow Monster. That fundamentally changed his biology. He is permanently connected to the hive mind. Matt Duffer clarified this distinction in an interview, explaining that Will's powers are strictly proximity-based. The trailer opens on the ending scene of Volume 1 with a destroyed Hawkins where Will is on the ground amidst the wreckage admitting defeat, saying they never stood a chance. Though we later get a glimpse of Sorcerer Will with his eyes rolling back white, just like they did at the end of Volume 1. This means his abilities are purely about manipulating the network itself. When we saw him kill those Demogorgons with telekinesis in Volume 1 and his nose started bleeding, that was the confirmation. The nosebleed is the visual language of the show for using psychic power. Noah Schnapp and Millie Bobby Brown even joked about this, with Noah revealing he specifically asked to have different arm movements than 11 to make sure the audience knew his power source was different. But the Duffer Brothers and Noah Schnapp have explained that Will's power is proximity-based. He taps into the hive mind network. He essentially hacks Vecna's Wi-Fi. He uses the energy of the Upside Down to amplify his own will. This makes him the ultimate counter to Vecna. 11 fights from the outside with raw force, but Will can fight from the inside. He can disrupt Vecna's control over the creatures. It's almost like Harry Potter and Voldemort, where the connection that is supposed to be a weakness becomes the only way to win. That poster where Will is standing above everyone else looking strong wasn't an accident. Noah Schnapp even admitted while eating hot wings that the poster shows Will's new strength, and pointed out that there is a new strength in Will's eyes on the poster that we haven't seen in past seasons. And while everyone else is standing at an angle, he and 11 are the only ones facing straight ahead. He's not the scared kid in the bowl cut anymore, he's a psychic weapon. There is also a very specific shot teased for Volume 2 showing Will, Mike, and Joyce looking at the portal as it closes. This highlights that Mike is now in this wild position where he is relying on two astral travelers, 11 and Will, to save his sister and the world. The dynamic has shifted. Will is now a protector. There is also a frantic shot in the trailer of Will yelling, "Run!" while trapped, which suggests his connection gives him a preview of Vecna's attacks before they happen. And he's not the only psychic coming back into play. We have to talk about Kali, or 8. The fact that she is back in the mix changes the dynamic of the final battle completely. Millie Bobby Brown's reaction to reading the script was literally, "Oh my god, Kaylee!" which tells you this isn't just a cameo. It's a major plot point. In the new trailer set to Diana Ross singing Upside Down, 11 is seen putting on headphones and a blindfold, explicitly asking Kaylee to help me find him and kill him, confirming they are hunting Henry together. Kaylee was controversial in Season 2, but narrative-wise, she is essential. She creates illusions. If you are fighting a guy like Vecna who attacks your mind and makes you see your worst nightmares, who is the best person to have on your team? The girl who can create counter-illusions. Callie can cloak the group. She can maybe even trick Vecna or the Mind Flayer. Plus, if you look at the numbers, and this is such a Dungeons & Dragons thing to do, if you add 11 plus 8 plus 1, which is what Will is channeling, you get 20. A natural 20. Now, let's look at what Vecna is actually trying to do, because just opening gates isn't the goal anymore. He wants a wormhole. This goes back to the science lessons from Mr. Clark. Remember the flea and the acrobat? The paper plate with the pen pushed through it? The show is bringing that hard science fiction concept back. Sean Levy even teased that Volume 2 will have a massive Mr. Clark explanation moment, where he uses a simple metaphor to explain a complex dimensional concept. Dustin, Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan discovered that the Upside Down is surrounded by a fleshy circular wall. However, in the trailer, Steve and Dustin are seen wandering through a vine-covered Hawkins lab where Dustin states, "This whole time, everything we have ever assumed about the Upside Down has been dead wrong. It's a barrier. The Upside Down is a buffer zone. It's a snapshot of Hawkins frozen in 1909 that acts as a membrane between our world and the chaotic, hellish Dimension X. Steve, Dustin, Jonathan, and Nancy also encounter a large, writhing, shifting gate high above their heads that looks like a swirling entity rather than the gates we are used to. Vecna is trying to break that wall. He wants to merge the dimensions completely. He wants to tear down the wall so that Dimension X consumes the right side up. We even hear Vecna's voice in the trailer chillingly say, "It is time for new worlds." To do this, he needs power. Massive power. This explains the 12 kidnapped children. Will has been seeing visions of these kids. Vecna is using them as batteries. Children in this universe seem to be more psychically malleable and potent. By linking 12 of them together in a ritualistic circle in his lair, Vecna creates a psychic amplifier strong enough to rip the fabric of space-time. It's gruesome, but it's efficient. This is the bridge that the episode titles hint at. He's building a bridge for the big bad to walk across. Let's break down how this is likely going to play out episode by episode in Volume 2, based on everything we know. Episode 5 is titled Shock Jock, and we have to note that this episode is directed by Frank Darabont, the horror legend behind The Mist and The Walking Dead. Bringing him out of retirement for this episode specifically implies we are in for some serious, old-school terror. Ross Duffer revealed that Darabont flexes very different muscles on this one, and that it is far darker and far scarier than previous episodes. The gang knows about the wall. They know they can't just walk into Vecna's lair because of that fleshy barrier. So, the radio tower plan is likely a weapon. They are planning to send out a red radio wave to blast the membrane. Sound and frequency have always been important. Remember how music saved Max? Maybe they are weaponizing that concept on a massive scale. At the same time, inside Hawkins' lab, they are finding the old files that confirm everything about Dimension X, validating Dustin's theories. Then we get to Episode 6, Escape from Camazotz. This is going to be the trippy, psychological horror episode. Camazotz is a reference to the planet of absolute conformity and mind. Control from the book, A Wrinkle in Time, which Holly Wheeler has been reading. This confirms that Max and Holly are trapped in a mental prison constructed by Vecna. It's a psychic construct where he controls everything. In the trailer, we see visuals of Max and Holly in a cave, and later trying to escape through floating doorways, including a shot of Holly walking into a bedroom window and a freestanding door appearing in a grassy field. Sean Levy, who directed this episode, explicitly said it is inspired by the Season 4 episode Dear Billy, which is the one where Max escapes Vecna the first time. He called it a companion piece, so expect that same level of emotional intensity. Sadie Sink revealed in an interview that there was actually a version of the script where Max went insane inside Vecna's mind and was not herself anymore when Holly found her. But thankfully they changed direction. Max has been there for a while, and she's probably been fighting to keep her sanity. Holly being young and sensitive to the particles. Remember, episode 2 was literally titled The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. So she is central to this entire season, and Matt Duffer confirmed her story ties directly to why Will was taken in Season 1, might be the key to breaking them out. Nell Fisher, the actress playing Holly, actually met with the twins who played the younger version of Holly to get the character right. She also revealed she filmed scenes in the Creel house with huge numbers of the cast, which implies the rescue mission involves everyone. However, Sadie Sink also dropped a heartbreaking detail about Lucas and Max in this season. She mentioned a scene where Lucas is playing her song and Max can hear it, and her heart rate rises on the monitor, but Lucas is so overwhelmed he doesn't even notice the signal. But escaping Camazotz is about mental fortitude. This is where we might see the Russia storyline parallel the Duffers talked about. Just as Hopper had to escape a physical prison in Russia, Max and Holly have to escape a mental prison. Matt Duffer specifically called this the New Russia storyline because it involves very few characters isolated on their own. Their escape is crucial because if they break out, it weakens Vecna's focus. He can't maintain the wormhole and the mind prison perfectly at the same time. Episode 7, The Bridge, sounds like the moment everything goes wrong before it goes right. This is likely when the wormhole actually opens. Ross Duffer noted regarding this episode that, aside from the finale, it's probably the most emotional chapter of the season, and ominously noted that it's going to be a long 6-day wait for the finale. And then, Episode 8, The Right Side Up. Dropping on New Year's Eve, this is the true finale. The title implies a restoration, or at least a final stand in our reality. The Upside Down is bleeding into Hawkins. This is the endgame. 11 fighting Vecna, Will fighting the hive mind, Kali creating illusions, and the rest of the party fighting the physical creatures on the ground. We see the whole crew in the trailer, and Nancy Wheeler goes into full sniper mode, popping out of a makeshift sunroof to take out soldiers. We also get a new hint at how the group might fight back. There is a tight close-up of Robin cranking a large industrial dial labeled Power Stat into the red zone as sparks fly and electricity arcs violently to a tied Demogorgon. The Duffers have confirmed that the VFX in this episode are even bigger than in episode 4, The Sorcerer, which was already huge. There is a strong theory that Vecna might actually turn face at the last second, not because he's good, but because he realizes the Mind Flayer is just using him. If the Mind Flayer arrives and treats Vecna like a disposable servant, Henry's ego might not handle that. He might help Eleven close the gate just to spite the entity that enslaved him. We also have to talk about the production value here because it sounds insane. The budget is rumored to be around $480 million, with each episode costing a staggering $60 million. Compare that to Season 4's budget of $270 million, and you realize they are effectively doubling the scale. That is movie-level money. They're basically making 4 blockbuster films back-to-back. The Duffers have said the finale has 2 hours of beautiful storytelling, which suggests it's not just action. We need to prepare ourselves for deaths. The cast is huge. The stakes are infinite. It doesn't make sense for everyone to walk away from this. The theories about Max sacrificing herself are heartbreaking but plausible. She's already died once. If her spirit is the only thing holding the door shut or distracting Vecna, she might choose to stay behind so her friends can live. And then there's the Robin theory. She's been absent from several individual character posters, and this has led to a fan theory from the Irony Society, suggesting that one character from each line or grouping on the posters will be dead by the end. It has people panicking that she might be the one to fall. There's also this really interesting subplot with Linda Hamilton's character. We still don't know exactly who she is, but she's listed as a doctor. Her character's name is Dr. K, and the descriptions of her are chilling. She is explicitly described as a major general leading a faction called the Wolf Pack. Unlike Brenner, who at least had a twisted, fatherly love for Eleven, Dr. K has zero emotional attachment. She views Elle strictly as a weapon. She's described as hyper-intelligent, intimidating, and she knows how to shoot a gun. She is a military scientist with an agenda, which makes the government threat way scarier this season. If she reveals that the government knew about Dimension X since the 40s or 50s, it changes the context of the Cold War paranoia that runs through the show. Speaking of unexpected returns, get ready for a punch to the gut. Barb is back. Well, sort of. The Duffer Brothers confirmed that we will see Barb's body in Volume 2. They described it as being half buried with purple lips and wrapped in inky black vines. It sounds horrifying, but they said it was necessary to bring things full circle and acknowledge the trauma that started it all, and to finally answer the "what about Barb" complaints they've gotten for years. And we can't ignore the time travel theories. The official synopsis even includes the phrase, "time itself unraveling," which is a massive hint that we are dealing with something bigger than just monsters. The Upside Down is stuck in 1983. Why? If they defeat Vecna, does time resume? Or do they have to reset the clock? There's a fear that they might pull an Avengers Endgame and undo the timeline, but the Duffers have been pretty adamant that they want the stakes to feel real. Resetting time feels like a cheat. It's more likely that the unraveling refers to the barrier between worlds dissolving, making past, present, and future bleed together in a nightmare scenario. The fact that the release is staggered around Christmas is just cruel, because we are all going to be glued to our screens instead of talking to our families. But honestly, for a show this big, would we have it any other way? It's going to be a wild ride.